This episode is brought to you by 180 Markets, where it is our goal to bring every individual, fund manager, family office, or any qualified investor access to Australian Stock Exchange capital raises. If you are ever interested in how to access ASX capital raises in a super simple way, 180 Markets is for you. The sign-up process is easy. You just upload your ID, proof of your investor status, and your current brokerage account information. The settlement of shares goes right into your existing account, and you can access our very next capital raise. If you're interested in free, easy access to thousands of ASX capital raises, including placements, IPOs, reverse takeovers, and more, check out 180markets.com.au. Hello, everybody. Welcome again. Another edition of 18 Minutes with 180 Markets. Friends, we are truly, as always, in the golden age of medicine. That's right. The advances we've had over the last 10 or 15 years have been truly phenomenal. And it's reflective in the life expectancy of people in the last 40 years, post-World War II, has doubled. But it's not just living longer that's important. It's also living a healthier lifestyle. And we're really excited because we have with us today a company, Analytica, and its chairman, Michael Mansour. And he is really helping women's lives improve for the better. And enough with me. Michael, welcome to 18 Minutes with 180 Markets.
Good morning, Greg. Thank you very much for inviting me this morning.
Hey, Michael, everyone's got a story and people invest in people as much as the products themselves. Can you just tell us a little bit about your personal background?
Okay, look, I'm a medical practitioner. And I have been for 44 years. Actually, how the product came about, it was actually watching a game of rugby, Australia versus the All Blacks, and I was watching it on my neighbour's veranda one Sunday afternoon, and of course Australia was getting the hide, and we were commiserating after it with a beer, and my mate Paul, who's a professor of engineering at UQ University, said to me, he said, Michael, he said, Margaret, my secretary, she keeps running the toilet every 5 minutes. And he said, "What the hell's wrong with her?" And he said to me, I said to Margaret, "Why are you going to the toilet all the time, Margaret?" She said, "Well, I've had 4 children." So he didn't say any more to her. And he said, "What's she talking about?" Well, I said, "Look, Paul, what she's saying to you is that she has stress urinary incontinence, and it is a result of childbirth and having 4 children." And he said to me, "Well, can it be fixed?" I said, "Yes. All she needs to do is correct pelvic floor exercises and it will correct itself." And he said, "Well, why the hell isn't she doing it?" I said, "Well, Paul, there is a problem. The problem is that it will only correct if you do those exercises correctly." Now, only 3% of women actually do it correctly and improve if they do home Kegel exercises. In fact, 87% make no improvement, 10% actually get worse because the women are doing it incorrectly, and only 3% improve. And he said, "Well, there's no hope for her." I said, "Yes, there is." I said, "The real solution is that somebody could design a real-time biofeedback mechanism that would actually show the woman what she's doing and how she's doing it. Then that will solve the problem." So he said to me, "Well, why doesn't somebody do it?" And that was how the idea came about. See, what I found over the years of medicine is that trying to explain to a woman how to exercise a muscle she cannot even feel or see. So what we did, we then looked at the role of a highly trained physiotherapist, and we decided to digitalize that role and see if, using artificial intelligence, whether we could develop a device that would absolutely do the role of a pelvic floor physiotherapist. Now, it took us 12 years and a lot of money, $25 million. We have developed that device. And in fact, recently, in the most prestigious journal in pelvic floor medicine in the world, that's the Journal of Female Pelvic Medicine and Reconstructive Surgery, which is the journal of the American Urogynecology Association. The results were published, and they compared the role of the peri-coach with women receiving intensive pelvic floor physiotherapy in a center of excellence. And believe it or not, the peri-coach matched that. So everything we had set out to do 12 years ago, we've actually reached that goal. Our aim was to develop a device that was a fraction of the cost of pelvic floor physiotherapy that a woman could use in the privacy of her own home for 3 minutes a day, 5 days a week. See, one of the problems with pelvic floor physiotherapists, a woman would go and see them and spend an hour with that pelvic floor physiotherapist. She'll be taught how to do the exercises. The woman will be sent home to do those exercises and gets reviewed a month later by the pelvic floor physiotherapist. When the woman goes home, that patient goes home, she often forgets, how do I do this? Am I doing it right? And she doesn't know. So she either does it incorrectly or gives up. She goes back to the pelvic floor physiotherapist a month later, and there's been no improvement. Now, nobody knew whether that no improvement was because she was doing it incorrectly or whether it just didn't work. So we developed this device called the peri-coach, which analyzes each and every contraction and tells the woman in the privacy of her own home at the time of her choosing how she's going, whether she's doing it correctly or not, and how to correct it. So we have achieved everything
Amazing.
with the device. And that article was peer-reviewed and has gone all around the world.
Absolutely. That's truly incredible. And, I couldn't help but, you mentioned earlier on, it affects 1 out of 3 women in Australia. So A, it's a huge target market, and B, I'd imagine it's similar globally.
Well, in Muslim countries, it's actually 54% of women. That's why we're currently talking to companies in Indonesia, and we've already signed contracts for the whole of the Middle East.
Absolutely. And, maybe, that's a good segue into talking about the commercialization aspect of the product, because sadly, and I'm sure you're aware, there's so many medical devices out there that they do help people, but unless they commercially stack, they just can't get out into the marketplace. Can you just talk, you've had some, very, very recent, very good news as far as getting a distribution partner in the Middle East. Can you just discuss that a little bit?
Okay, so it is now, the approval for the Middle East will be granted within the next week or so, and the rollout of the Middle East will start in the next month. And there's a market there of several hundred million, up to 400 million people there, which will be rolled out to. And 54% of the women there have stress urinary incontinence. And also in the Middle East and the Muslim countries, there is another incentive to fix this problem. Muslim women are required to pray 5 times a day. And according to the Quran, they're not allowed to pray if they're unclean. And having urine on your body or clothes is considered unclean. So these women are very keen to actually address this problem.
Absolutely. And I suppose, that's there are so many target markets and nuances, I suppose, that we don't really think about very much, but really can have a massive effect on people's lives. And as you even mentioned in your opening story about going to the toilet all the time, on one hand, it's kind of funny. On the other hand, it's a serious issue.
Well, it is. It's worse than that, because these women not only, suffer from stress urinary incontinence, but because they've damaged their pelvic floor, most of them also suffer from sexual dysfunction. We did a clinical trial in Australia a few years back, which was done in all the major maternity hospitals around Australia. And one of the things we did find, certainly we found that the improvement in the stress urinary incontinence was fantastic, but also there was an improvement in female sexual dysfunction. And these results have been published. And it is because 90% of the nerve endings for female orgasm are not in the vagina. They're actually in the puborectalis muscle. That's one of the muscles of the pelvic floor. And that muscle gets stressed during childbirth. And therefore, that's why women after childbirth often do not have the same sensation that they did prior to childbirth. And we were able to prove we can actually rehabilitate that muscle and improve their sexual function back to where it was, where it should have been and where it was prior to them having children. The other thing about stress urinary incontinence in women, it's not just the physical problem of the incontinence. There's the psychological problems, there's the marriage problems. These women do not go to concerts because they cannot get to the toilet. There's a long line. They do not go on bus trips. They do not go and play tennis with their friends.
Right.
Only carry, 2 small bags of groceries at Woolies, because if they carry 3, they're going to wet themselves in the grocery store, etc. So there's psychological problems, depression, marriage problems, all sorts of social problems as a result of this physical dysfunction, which we can correct.
Yeah, that's really incredible. And I guess, again, it goes back to my opening point about, it's one thing to live longer, but it's another thing to live a healthy lifestyle, if you will. Again, coming back to the, because we are investors, and I think that people certainly now understand that, the need for the product. Analytica is incredibly cost effective for people as well, isn't it?
Very much so. Look, most women in Australia, our Analytica, the peri-coach costs $300, a once up. Most women spend $600 to $900 a year on pads. If they're having surgery, it's something like $20,000 to $30,000. And there's just been a big royal commission into the meshes and the slings, and most of them have been banned because they were causing damage to women's health. Yeah. So they can no longer be used. So the medical device industry is looking for a replacement, and we believe we have developed the replacement.
Absolutely, and at 300, I dare say at $300, less than $1 a day, it really becomes a no-brainer, doesn't it?
So talking about the economics of it, also, governments will be looking at addressing this problem. We currently just had finished a royal commission into aged care. Do you realise that 91% of women in nursing homes have stress urinary incontinence? And what came out of that royal commission was that in any 8-hour nursing shift, each patient in a nursing home gets 30 minutes of clinical care by that nurse, on average, 30 minutes. 17.39 minutes of that 30 minutes is actually on toileting. So if we can address that issue, we can save the government a lot of money. And also, of those 91% of women who have urinary incontinence in nursing homes, 81% of them are potentially curable by the peri-coach. So we can actually save the government billions upon billions of dollars every year by these people not needing to go to nursing homes. In Australia at the moment, the 2 major reasons why women end up in nursing homes is, one, dementia, which we can't cure, and the second major cause is urinary incontinence, which we can cure. And, patients are going into nursing homes unnecessarily because their children can't, look after mum wetting the bed 5 times a night.
Absolutely.
And, we've spoken to the government about this, and we've spoken to the health department and the aged care and the ministers in the federal government about this. And they're looking at this very seriously, because we presented evidence that we can save them tens of billions of dollars a year. And we have an aging population, and unless we do something to keep people out of nursing homes, the cost of aged care is going to bankrupt this country.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. Hey, Michael, as I said, earlier, you've had a lot of success over the last, very recent news with getting distribution agreements. In your minds, for Analytica, over the next 12 to 24 months, what would be your definition of success? What are the key milestones?
My definition. Okay. Already, we have signed up agreements for the Middle East, the whole of the Middle East. We've signed up agreements for the whole of China, Macau, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. My idea of success would be us partnering with a major multinational for North America and also for Europe. And currently we have New York-based bankers who are now talking to multinationals about the Perry coach.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, because obviously, that distribution, as that is the commercialization aspect, and those conversations, they can get very competitive. So it's good that you certainly need to have people on the ground facilitating those discussions. Hey, Michael, we only have a couple more minutes here. In closing, are there any closing comments for the audience about, I guess in my mind, one of the things I think about, and I'd like to hear your words, so much in medicine and medical technology for investors, it's either yes or no. It either works or it doesn't, and it's either a success or failure. But you're in a little bit of a different spot. Can you just talk to the audience about that?
Yes, we are. Most small caps, especially biotech, it's a binary thing. Either you lose, it works and you make a lot of money, or it fails and you lose everything. I believe we have now de-risked our company, because we have clinical evidence that's proven. It's published in the most prestigious journal in the world that it works. We now are running this out probably to 1.7 billion people around the world. We now need to concentrate to get it to the rest of the world, to Europe and North America. We wanted to get runs on the board first before we targeted the US and Europe, so that we could get a better deal than if we did not have any success, prior success. And of course, one of the things with the multinationals, they either take it, or the Chinese will take it into Europe and North America, which they want to do. So we will roll it out, but we need to see if we can get a deal with a multinational first, certainly.
Anyway, stay tuned, Michael. Thank you so much. And we'll be sure to check in with you very soon again.
Thank you very much, Greg. I appreciate the time. Hello, mate.
Thank you for watching another presentation by 180 Markets. Don't forget, if you want access to thousands of ASX capital raises, head on over to 180markets.com.au, sign up, and get on board for our very next capital raise. Thanks for watching.